Hello everyone, welcome back to Durbanites FPL, Game Week 27 review, Game Week 28 preview. Hard to believe, but after this week there are only 10 weeks left in the league season. Let's kick it off as usual by looking at the table. Again, I know you guys are probably getting tired of hearing it, but there are many tight battles happening. No change at the top, however, looking at the third position onwards, there's 6 points between third and fourth, 3 points between fifth and sixth, and 4 points between seventh and eighth. So every game counts, every performance counts. At the top, even though there's no change, you can see once again a very close game, just 2 points between it. Very close margins here. Anything could swing this. But let's look at what that means in terms of player selections. No changes from last week, so Mo Salah, Cole Palmer, Isak, and Lewis Hall still coming in. Now, an asterisk on Lewis Hall, he has just been injured in the last week of play and means that he will be out until at least the 1st of June, which means that I expect him to drop off that selection list in the near future. Now, looking at the differentiators for this week, Justin Kluivert featuring again. 1/3 of our managers having him on their team. Christian Kuhn coming good for Chelsea, just one manager scoring there, and Levi Colwill as well having a blind off against Chelsea, again one manager scoring on him. Now, looking at what that means in terms of hits and misses, 2 hits, all defensive. Hassan and Suat picking up 20 plus points from that back line, and the queen of defense, Squish, and her brother Diddy coming up with 30 plus points from the back line. That's super strong this week. Strangely enough, no misses. It was a bad week for everyone. No real big call outs on this week. Now, looking at the best possible selection from the players that we had selected. Starting at the back, Areola gets the number 1 jersey with Sells on the bench just based on price. A strong backline here, Wan-Bissaka, Nico Williams, Levi Colwill in there, and Saliba. Colwill getting the captain's armband. It's good performance. In the midfield, just going with 3 there, Rogers and Nkunku and Kluivert. So Nkunku doing well with 12 and Kluivert with 10. And in the front line, João Pedro, Wissa, and Matessa leading that line. And that means no place on the field for Guardiola, Bowen, and Salah, if you can believe that. All of them holding down the bench. Arne Slot proved once again to be the best assistant manager to have on your team. Super expensive, but also super consistent with those 10 points. Now, looking at the total points from this team, 122 and 147, including that bench, at a total cost of 93.9. So again, a very affordable team to put on the field. Looking at the fixture rating, couple of greens coming up again this week. Now again, wants to watch out for Crystal Palace, Liverpool, and Newcastle blanking Game Week 29, but definitely some good games around that. So you might want to think about how you will rather bench those players instead of selling. But there's quite a lot involved if you've relied on Liverpool, Newcastle in the past. Now, looking at the other teams as well, Chelsea have at least a good game this week against Leicester. One last chance, I feel, for Cole Palmer to make a case to FPL managers to hang on to him before he's probably sold for better options. And they're looking at Wolves. Really good fixtures on paper. Unfortunately, the talismanic Matthias Cunha has picked up a suspension for at least 3 matches, which could extend to 5, which means that he will probably miss this huge run of green fixtures that are coming up, which is insanely bad luck for those managers that had planned for him to perform in this period. On the other hand, a lot of tough fixtures coming up for teams like Arsenal, Manchester City, Aston Villa as well, including the blank, and then they've got some tough games. Again, could win, could go their way, but not easy wins. Fulham as well coming to the end of a good run here. We're having some tough competition for teams above them as they all fight for European spots. And then Manchester United again on current form, just a lot of challenging games ahead. And a few injuries hitting them as well, so that's going to be a tough game. Nottingham Forest have some good games again, winnable games where they will score, but they are also facing up to some tough competition along the way, again as the race for European spots heats up. Now, looking at the backline selection, just one notable Altan Bayindir out for Manchester United. All other first choice goalkeepers are available. Looking at the picks here, Alisson from Liverpool again, super strong to keep in there. He's expensive though, so you might want to look at how you want to replace him. and he's got the blank way in game week 29. However, you've got Pickford, good fixtures coming out for Everton. Ariola's back in favour over Fabianski at West Ham. And then you've got Pope for Newcastle and Jose Sa for Wolves. So these are good options for goalkeepers. Looking at defensive players who are out, Martinez from Manchester United is out, still out for the season probably. Sven Botman and Lewis Hall, as we mentioned earlier, both of them out for Newcastle. John Stones out for Manchester City, and Vegas from Ipswich is highly doubtful to play. Our choices again: Gabriel, Guardiola, Alexander Arnold. These three will remain here again more because of their ability to score versus their defensive abilities. Even though there are some tough games, there are chances and routes to goal for them. Then you've got Kirkes from Bournemouth. Bournemouth have a fairly good run of games. Ed Nuri for Wolves, because he's really good on the attacking third as well. Mikalenko from Everton and Tarkowski from Everton, both of whom can provide some valuable assists and some clean sheets, with David Moyes going for a solid defense in his last few games. Now, looking at the midfield, again, lots of injuries. Bob and Rodri still out for Manchester City. Saka and Martinelli still out for Arsenal. McNeil is out for Everton. Wilson and Adama out for Fulham, although Adama might play. Ahmad is out for Manchester United, and the chances are that he may make it back before the end of the season, but definitely not in the near future. Ugarte is doubtful for Manchester United. They're going to be really worried about that one. Noni Madueke is out for Chelsea, and Anthony Gordon getting a suspension, ruling him out of the next few games in the Premier League and also the final of the Carabao Cup. Very tough news for Newcastle and their fans. However, on the picks, you've got Cole Palmer again, one last chance for him to impress this week, and Chris Nkunku, who did very well last week, doubling up as a striker, and that could lead to a lot of goals for him this week. Mo Salah is perennial favourite here on this list. We will never move him, but Luis Diaz could be a good alternative, considering that Liverpool have Champions League games, a Carabao Cup final, as well as games coming up in the Premier League. They do have a blank in game week 29, but if you can't afford Salah, or if you're looking for another bolster there, Luis Diaz is a good option. And if there's a rotation, definitely Salah for Diaz would be one of them. Then you've got Ryan Mbemo, again, not the best fixtures for Brentford. However, whether they win or lose, scoring is always an option, and Mbemo is their current route to it. Now, Kluivert and Semenyo are good options for the Bournemouth midfield. Again, really fairly good fixtures for Bournemouth, winnable, and again, if not winnable, ones where they could score. So definitely looking at those two options. You'll notice that there's no Dango Otara on this list. One of the main reasons for that is with Evan Nilsson coming back into the lineup, it's possible Dango Otara could move to the left wing as opposed to the striker position where he's been tried out. Else he could also get some limited minutes on the field. So that's why we're not recommending him, not because he's a good player or not a good player or has lost form. Now, then you've got Jared Bowen, who's coming back for a resurgent West Ham under Graham Potter. Gomez for Wolves, especially if you're an attacking option. Barnes for Newcastle, specifically because Gordon is suspended and he could be the one to fill that gap. Bruno Guimaraes, of course, is always good to put in for Newcastle. And Alcaraz from Everton has been a bit of an engine for that revitalized Everton team. Now, looking at the forwards, still a lot of injuries. Havertz and Gabby Jesus out for Arsenal. Didn't stop them from scoring 7 this week in the European fixture, but they have been struggling in the Premier League. Solanke is still doubtful for Spurs, but could actually play and get some minutes on the field. Richarlison, unfortunately, is still out. Nicholas Jackson out for Chelsea, which is why Chris Nkunku was getting a chance at forward. And then you've got again James Cunha out because of that suspension for Wolves, and Jean-Philippe Mateta getting a terrible injury in the fixture and now having an issue where he's being nursed back to health, not sure when he might return. But with that blank in game week 29, it's probably advisable not to bring him in this week and see what happens post game week 29. Now again, you've got from the picks, Alexander Isak looks good to go from the latest team news, so he's definitely one that you want to look at. Chris Wood and Nottingham Forest again have some good fixtures where they could score, if not win. And then you've got Johan Wissa again for Brentford. Good fixtures. He's a great route to goal. He's got good form this year. Maybe a bit overshadowed by the fact that Isak, Wood, Haaland, etc. have been flying, but Johan Wissa's a good, solid pick. João Pedro is also doing well for Brighton, especially with the absence of Danny Welbeck, but now he's back, so he might very well get a pairing. Beto for Everton, considering the games that are coming up, if you're looking for a well-priced striker. Evan Nilsson for Bournemouth as well, now coming back from injury, had a few limited minutes, but he is definitely one of those strikers that could do really well in this Bournemouth setup. And in the absence of Matheus Cunha, Stan Larsen is back. He could be an option that you're looking for Wolves. Not too sure about his form, but again, it just depends on whether you want to roll the dice on these forwards or go with one of the more expensive solid picks. So looking at assistant managers, again, making a call out here. There is a blank game week in 29, so you really have to consider how you're going to play this smartly. You've got David Moyes and Pereira up front for Everton and Wolves, and they have good fixtures and no blanks in game week 29. The other options is Eddie Howe and Arne Slot. However, just bear in mind that these guys will have blanks in game week 29 unless you're using a transfer in order to bring in a new manager at that time. You're going to be short. Now, looking at what we have, before we say goodbye to you, here one call out. So the strategy for playing chips this week is you don't really want to play your assistant manager chip yet if you're looking at playing Liverpool, Newcastle, Crystal Palace, or Aston Villa, because those managers all have a blank in game week 29. At the same time, there's an option of a double game week coming up in game week 32 based on the FA Cup draws. So depending on the FA Cup matches and draws, in game week 32 there could be a double game week for a lot of managers, and that might be an option for you to play. With the blank game week now in game week 29, the possibility of a double game week in game week 32, and the fact that there are FA Cup and international fixtures that will happen between game week 29 and game week 32. Get ready for 2 boring weeks along the way. There might be a lot of changes in terms of players that might be injured, players availability, etc. So just cautioning you here, guys, if you're not using your free hit in game week 29 to avoid that blank, if you are making changes, be very cautious about using all your transfers prior to game week 32. Between game week 39 and game week 32, it might be advisable to set up now so that you can hold those players over that period and then make a decision in game week 32 about how to go ahead for the last 6 weeks of the season. That's all we have for now, guys. Hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Good luck, and we'll catch up on the wrap up for this one. So long for now.